Hey guys, Mike here. So what a day in the market on Friday, and oh my goodness, the Tesla squeeze, and I'll show you in tomorrow's video what a gamma squeeze looks like, because that's what you got to witness on Friday with Tesla. But again, history is repeating here, so we're going to what I'm talking about when I say that is playing out once again. And with you guys' questions, I'll go ahead and tell you, you guys had a lot of questions about Trump and the new presidency and this stock and what's going to happen over here. And so again, I might actually do a rant in. I actually believe I have not decided that, because I saved this one question for last. But we'll see how I feel and stuff like that when I get into it. But looking at what's playing out once again, all right. And again, you know me, it's not just about this little graph somebody puts out up. It's about going back and looking to say, well, what does history actually tell us over the last like 20, maybe even 30 years, right? And when you look at this, you'll see this chart floating all over the place. And it's rally fades after the inauguration. You can see what the S&P actually is. That's the black line. You see the election. You can see this is what's playing out, right? Things are going up. All right, you'll get your pullbacks, all that fun stuff, but things go up. And then right after the first year, inauguration is usually around January 20th. Boom, right there, okay? Ends up maybe having a sell down, and then it ramps up. But is that actually true? Is that actually what happens? When we go back and look, there's this little indicator in TradingView. If you have it, just type in presidential and this will pop up, right? So that's the election that marks for you. And then you have your inauguration. You can see the election happened, big run up, had a little sell off, not much, about 4 or 5%. And then you can see the market, again, pullbacks, but it goes up, right? 2016 right here, Trump gets elected, boom. Market goes up right there, but then you have a little, basically flat, not even a dip, just they went kind of flat, right? And then we proceed to move up. And so again, there's no major sell-off after the inauguration right there. This one in 2012, you can see it went straight down after the election, but then here we go with the year-end rally. And then you can see this didn't even mark the inauguration. The inauguration would have been right here, and the market just kept going. All right, so we didn't even get, again, another drop after inauguration. And so, you go to 2008, we were in a crash, and you'll notice when we're in a crash, doesn't matter. All bets are off, okay? So we don't even look at it. Now, 2004 right here, Bush gets elected for his second term. You can see big move up after the election right there. There's the inauguration. It's already selling down a little bit before that. After inauguration, you get a little dip, and then back up we go. So you sold it off right the first year. And sometimes that happens where you'll get a sell-off right the first of the year, right? Now, going into 2000, doesn't even matter because we're in what? The dot-com bubble. So it doesn't matter, okay? Now, so I'll go back a little before that, right? 96, Clinton gets elected. Obviously, you get your year-end rally, get a little dip after the inauguration right there. Again, it's not very much. What is that, like 3%? And then, of course, the market goes up. One thing you'll notice is no matter who's president, the market does go up over a long period of time. 92, when Clinton was first elected, again, you get this big rally up right here in the S&P. Again, stocks will be up more than this. Inauguration happens. I don't see much of a dip at all. And then it continues to go higher. And so the biggest thing to take away from that is when you see after the election, what happens? Don't matter who gets elected, stock market goes up, right? And you get this, it incorporates the year-end rally. It almost puts it on steroids, it seems like, right? And then, of course, you have these massive flows and everything coming in. Going in is Jim Croissant, and I'll show you his interviews that he always does, talking about that, going into it. And you can see, even after the inauguration, you get a dip here. Even when you get a dip, it's not a very big dip, is it? No. Okay, and so you may be flat, maybe go up, but over the long haul, doesn't matter who's president. They're all going to spend a lot of money just in different areas. Certain stocks are going to love them. Certain stocks are going to hate them. Okay, and that's just the way it is. But the overall market trends up. All right, so that's the thing to take away from that. Now, your questions here, which are very interesting, by the way. We got the first one here says, is it true that the weekly and monthly charts have negative divergence, and are we at a major market top because of it? The answer is nobody knows if you're at a top until you actually until it's selling down, right? And you get like a bearish cross on the 50 and 200-day moving average. But when you look right here, what he is talking about, or she, excuse me, is this right here on the weekly. Obviously, we're doing higher highs on the S&P, and then on the RSI, you see this right here. So you got bearish divergence going on right there on the weekly. And so, but here's the thing. That can play out. It may not play out. And we go back and look at this kind of stuff. Here you can see bearish divergence of the RSI, MACD, and what do you get? 5% pullback, right? It took like 4 months to play out. Got you a 5% pullback. There's other times you'll see this where it'll be doing this, and then of course you'll get a nice pullback. Back in, if we go down where the 2022 crash happened, when you come over, yeah, you had bearish divergence, right? And end up playing out into a total crash, and so it plays out differently, right? Does it have to play out? No, it doesn't. Or I can just sit there for months doing it, or weeks, that is. And then all of a sudden, yes, you finally get you a pullback. So you won't know it's a top. People try to call it until you look back and go, oh, okay, that was the top. I'll be darned. You'll have signs and stuff, which we'll talk about and look at in the future. But that's just kind of where we're at. So yes, there is divergence. Now next comes Dr. Marcus, and he says, I know we did technically pump and hit 76K on Bitcoin, but in all honesty, did you/we think we would have gotten a bigger pump on Bitcoin with a Trump win, 2,000 to 3,000 past all-time highs? Like a pedestrian move to me. Oh, well, better than a dump, I guess. Well, when you look at it, I mean, again, they'll say it's because of the presidency, and then you'll get that. Yeah, that helps out. But here's the reason why this is pumping. Because you had, on the weekly, a bullish MACD cross. Okay, this Bitcoin is already moving up before the election. The election just gave it even more jet fuel, right? Because all of a sudden that sparks people who aren't even into crypto a whole lot. All of a sudden starts buying in. It's like, oh, crypto president, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, right? So it's pumping, but it's the cycle. Okay, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at the cycle. That bullish MACD cross, when you have it on the weekly, is very powerful. It happened in October before we ever elected anybody. Okay, and so does it help to have somebody who may cut taxes on crypto and create all this stuff? Absolutely. It surely does not hurt. That is for sure. What this has done is sucked in a lot of people who really are those people that won't buy at the lows. They'll buy at the highs, and they'll buy it with euphoria. You're starting to hear this. Listen in the elevators, looking around the water coolers at work, if they even still have those. Listen to your grandma start asking you about Bitcoin, because I'm already seeing it. Okay, so just FYI on that. Now, I will say this on Ethereum, because you're looking for this altcoin cycle, when's it going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Understand the 200 moving average. I've talked about this with members, and I think I even put it on here for you guys in Thursday night video. Well, we're at the 200, right? It's rejecting off 200. I'm recording this on Friday, okay? So by Saturday, maybe it's broken through, but it respects it. And when it does break above a 200, you normally get some really nice runs, right? Break above 200, that was a big run there, right? Nice little run here, but it has to do it. And you see how many times it's rejected off the 200. So it actually does respect this 200. And so if you can break above that, you can get a run going, right? But normally you'll see Ethereum and altcoins really pump as soon as Bitcoin really makes its top, right? Who knows if it's 100K, whatever it is. And then people start taking profits in Bitcoin, and then they'll roll it into altcoins. And then from there, they'll roll it into the coins that we've never even heard of, okay? So we'll see what happens on that. Let me know what you think about that in the bottom. Next one here says, why is a Republican presidency particularly bad for pharma stocks? And I'm not going to say the word because I don't know if YouTube will censor me on that one. And what it comes down to is a couple of things. One, like I live in Florida, we tried to pass legislation in this amendment in this last election for the word that starts with a W, and it failed once again. We tried multiple times, and usually what happens is the Republican Party is very conservative on that kind of stuff, right? And so it just doesn't pass. Now, as far as pharma, the reason why, especially now, it could be a bearish thing is because what? Because President Trump has said he's going to put Kennedy in charge of the FDA, maybe even some other organizations up there in the government, and he's going to clean house. He already said he's going to fire everybody. And I hope, and this is one of those ones I'm hoping, I know that all politicians make promises, and a lot of them get undelivered, but I am hoping there is major changes when it comes to big pharma, and also big medical equipment, which is 3 times the size of big pharma, by the way. And so I'm hoping there's major changes done, because we have a huge problem in this country, and it's a shame of what's going on. And I'll tell you this, if you've never watched it, make sure you look at this documentary right here. It's called The Bleeding Edge. It will disgust you if you live in America, of what they've allowed to happen in this country, how much they allow the medical device industry to get away with. It is absolutely insane. And I won't ruin the documentary for you if you've never watched it, but there's one thing in there that just stunned me. And I read a lot. I never would have guessed this, ever. Okay, but it makes sense. And some of you are going to go, holy moly. And a light bulb is going to come on and say, well, that's why that happened to me or my mom, my brother, my kids, whatever it is. It's unbelievable. I mean, my wife watched it, and we were both, and she works in the medical industry, and we were just shaking our heads going, really? Like, our government's gotten that bad off? And if you don't understand why the medical device industry and big pharma owns the government, it's because they put their own people from that sector in charge of the FDA and other various agencies in the government. That's why this happens, okay? And plus they write a lot of big checks to our congressmen. So we'll see. if that's one of the promises that get delivered. But that's why it could be very bearish for them. And we'll see. Again, we got to wait to see what happens when he takes office and who gets appointed. Okay. Now, next one here says, Mike, question I've never been able to find an answer to. With Trump now in, does that mean BlackRock will be replaced in the White House with Goldman Sachs like he did when he was president the first time? I feel BlackRock has definitely had a huge hand in helping prop this market up. And if they are out, would that mean no more rescue operations at key levels anymore from the likes of NVIDIA and Apple, etc.? Thanks for your thoughts. And the truth is, none of us know he's going to replace them. And the truth is, it don't matter, right? I mean, BlackRock has become so big. And as Larry Fink said, he has all the president's cell phone numbers. So I can promise you, Trump's calling him too. He didn't tell you that, but that's just the way it is as advisors. And remember what we talked about in the past. 2020, who they call? BlackRock. BlackRock was the one advising them. Who was president? It was President Trump, right? Because remember, they have the AI system in their Aladdin, which basically tells them what to do. Okay, that's why they went out and bought ETFs and everything underneath the sun to save the world. In 2008, who they asked for help? It was BlackRock. That was a Democratic president. Actually, it was actually a Republican president, and then the Democratic president came in, but it didn't matter. They were working together, hand in hand to figure it out. So it doesn't matter, right? It really does not matter who's in there, was Goldman Sachs, BlackRock. They're going to ask BlackRock. Okay, when you have, was it 12 trillion in assets now? They'll ask them, I promise. So that ain't going to matter. And so that's the way it is. Now, last one here says, do you think Powell could throw a wrench in the Trump victory rally as some payback for Democrats? LOL, just thinking out loud. And the funny thing about that is, I know a lot of people probably believe that, but he is a Republican. He is a registered Republican. I verified it. Believe it or not, if you want to know what somebody around you is, all you need is a first and last name, birth date, maybe a zip code. That's it. It's kind of scary, actually. And it'll actually show you where they live, which is even crazier. So I did that for our Fed president. And yes, he's a registered Republican. He's been a registered Republican for many, 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 many years. And if you think he's got any love for Democrats, you're crazy. Have you ever seen him and Elizabeth Warren? Elizabeth Warren hates that man. He hates Elizabeth Warren. I mean, it's crazy, the kind of stuff she says about him, to him, and all that stuff. So I don't think there's any love there. He's not going to try to throw in any wrench in anything, because remember, it's all about legacy for him. He's already rich, right? He already screwed up big time one time. He's going to be well known for that for history, talking about how inflation was transitory and waiting way too late to raise rates, okay? So it doesn't matter. That don't mean anything, and so he'll continue to do his thing. And, I've been very upfront through this whole time. You know how I feel. I've never wavered. If you look me up, it'll say, what does it say here in Florida? It's like, you used to where you're a registered independent, but here it says non-party affiliate is what it'll say, because you know how much I have disdain for both Republican and the Democratic Party, okay? And I agree with what Vivek said about him. You saw what happened to him. So as soon as he called out the head of the RNC and said they're nothing but corporations, he was gone 3 days later, right? They said they wouldn't give him a single penny. You see what the Democratic Party did? They had a primary, and Harris came out, I think it was 12th. And next thing you know, she was number one, right? As soon as Biden stepped down. What happened to the people that got the second, third, and fourth most votes? Did they get a phone call? We don't know, right? Because they're both nothing but corporations, just raise money. I can promise you they ain't looking out for you, me, nobody else. Hey, there's companies now. That's all they are. I'm trying to raise as much money as they can, okay? And another big reason I don't believe in the two-party system, because there's just too many people now that they join a party and then they just stop thinking for themselves. They just believe whatever the party tells them, right? They're just little sheep just getting ran off a cliff or something. I mean, and that's just crazy to me. I mean, you'll see, like, a prime example of that is Joe Rogan, right? I mean, I've watched every podcast that man's ever put out. Huge fan of him. Love UFC too, by the way. And you see what happened to him. The Democrat Party upset him so much. This is the guy who voted for Bernie Sanders, okay? But they upset him so much what they were doing in California. He moved his family from California to Texas, and he's not a Republican or anything, but he's basically started supporting the Republican Party more because, of what they did. But what happened was, when you get that much disdain for either party, right, you start to believe anything put out about them. And I remember on his podcast, and I'll give him credit, he don't even edit them out this year, but in the last 6 months, he has said some crazy off-the-wall stuff that literally got debunked right there by the producer on the podcast, right? I mean, my favorite one was when he said, did you see where the State of the Union was pre-taped and it wasn't even live because they zoomed in on President Biden's watch? And the guy's interviewing is like, you really think the Republican Party would have went along with that? And he's like, hold on, well, Jamie, look it up. And they look it up, and of course, it was not even true. I mean, so many instances of that, right? But that's another thing. Just the two-party system does, man. People join these groups and they just won't waver. They believe everything they say, and God forbid you hold them accountable. And it's just crazy to me. I don't. And of course, you see where we've gone, right? That's just the way it is. And so, that's anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that one. And so, that's how I feel about it. But yeah, no, he's not going to do anything and throw a wrench in anything. I did find it funny. I showed you guys in Thursday night video. He said, I'm not resigning. And a president, according to what everything said here, doesn't have the power to fire him, but they say it could be challenged in court. So maybe he fires him, and then we go to court and see what happens. And so that's just where we're at on that. If he does try to throw a wrench in there or something. So anyway, that's where I'm at on that right there. Please let me know what you think down the bottom of all those questions. Always love your feedback. If you happen to have better answers, I'd love to hear those as well. Okay, and feel free to put any more questions you have for next Saturday's video. It's one of my favorite videos to do every week, and I enjoy doing them for you guys. So anyway, hope you got something out of it. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button on your way out. Feel free to sign up for the membership. Less than McDonald's combo. That's everything you get with it. And I'll see you tomorrow to set up the week.